Song in High Summer, Jan at the Front Line, second entry. July the 28th. Guitar in hand, I've just arrived at this little house in Highland Park, Los Angeles. One story with small yards front and back, a garage which does double duty as storeroom and occasional bedroom. The cars stand in the street. There seem to be about 15 people living here, including half a dozen children. The core of the group is Leticia, my mother and grandmother. She has 3 daughters and 2 sons living here with her. The daughters are married, their husbands also are here, and of course the children. We're expecting the youngest daughter, Janira, home today. She's been away in the country for the long weeks that have passed since she was assaulted by Salvadoran death squads operating up here in the US with brutal suddenness. I'm just present as a gringo to try to provide some sort of protective shield. Various organizations here in Los Angeles concerned with human rights in Central America have banded together to give the squad's chosen targets and other threatened ones some protection. There's a small group of volunteers who come to spend the day and the night living here and in other houses marked out for destruction throughout the city. The hope is that with a white person present, the squads won't attack. Let's hope that's right. Who would have dreamed of this? I left Scotland for just 3 weeks at the back end of April to come back to Washington, D.C. It was another chance to try to get to President Reagan with blood of the innocent, the tragic testimonies of ordinary Nicaraguans living out the horrible realities of his policy decisions. Last year, I carried this book throughout all Central America and up to the White House, only to have the door slammed in my, more importantly, their faces. 2 of us from Scotland joined some 300 from all over, travelling from Panama to Mexico on foot and by bus. La Marcha por la Paz in Central America, March for Peace in Central America. It took place through December 1985 and January 1986. Astonishingly, April's more than 3 months ago already. Carmen, one of Janira's sisters, has just brought me tea amid much laughter. My British addiction to steaming hot tea here in the 100-degree heat is already quite a joke. And although I speak very little Spanish and most of the family little English, food and drink and laughter reach out, even in such terrible circumstances. When the paper came round asking for help with this protective network, I nearly didn't sign it. I was very much in travelling mode. In Washington, D.C., I met up with a woman artist, Dini Forbes, who had worked in Nicaragua. She had been living with Brian Wilson, of Veterans for Peace in Central America, when he and some of his Vietnam friends had started their Fast for Life on the steps of the Capitol. Dini complemented their action by designing and building the Peace Hunger Kitchen. This was a larger-than-life-size interior of a Nicaraguan kitchen, a cobbler's house. I had come back to Washington in 1987 with a delegation from the many Scottish people who had been in Nicaragua to add our challenge to the great demonstration against the war held on April the 25th. Dini had set up the kitchen on the grassy mall, which stretches between Capitol Hill and the Lincoln Memorial. She stayed on there for a week or so, and I wandered in one day on my way back from yet another abortive foray into the citadel of democracy. And so I'm here now. What a world. Jane lives in Vermont. She invited me to come up there to join the kitchen on tour throughout New England. It was obvious that Washington was closed, so why not? So, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. A couple of months in the east, over to dip into California, up to Washington State via Oregon, then back east via Ohio. That was the plan, trying to meet the other side of Reagan's United States, the huge movement of people resisting what their government is doing, of whom we hear hardly anything back home in Britain. This song's for you, Uncle Sam. We don't want another Vietnam. Singing with them, telling them the story of La Marcha and how the Democratic White House had refused to listen to the ordinary folk of Nicaragua by rejecting blood of the innocent, now twice over. By the orphan polar bear and his pals saved the North Pole. Chapter 1. Grumblebee and his friends saved Bai from the blizzard. Bai was a little polar bear, very sad because he had no family. He did love to go fishing. One day a big blizzard swept poor Bai out to sea. He got very cold and tired. He was still very small. Luckily, he found a tiny ice floe. He just managed to climb onto it. Suddenly, a big bumblebee landed on his head. Here, I'm Grumblebee, he said, and I'm really cross. You? I'm from London, right? So what's with all the snow? Go. To be continued.